to go ahead and start. Thank you. I'm Millie Ellis. I'm assistant principal at Dandridge Elementary, and when he comes back in, that's Jim Hodge. He's principal at Dandridge Elementary. So we're so glad to see you all today. And if you have questions as we're going through this PowerPoint at any time, please just ask, okay? We don't want you to forget what you want to ask. We always want to go over our Jefferson County Schools Core 4. Our Core 4 values are number 1, a culture of excellence, high quality instruction, actionable feedback for student, educator, and growth, and data literacy and data responsiveness. So, we want you to think about that as you're subbing, as you're working with kids, giving them actionable feedback, which that would be something like if they're young elementary kids. I'm at elementary school, that's where my brain works most of the time. If they're working on math facts, good job, and you did a great job remembering that 1 + 1 = 2. Just feedback to what they've done at that time. Go ahead.
Okay, basic information. So, anytime you're in school, let me back up for a second. My name is Jim Hodge. I'm the principal at Dandridge Elementary. I'm sorry I had to step out for a second. So, anytime you're in the school, we ask that you wear your ID badge. Of course, that is a safety concern. So, we want to make sure that we know who our people are in the building at all times. So, anytime you're in the building, we do ask that you wear your ID badge. And when you go to the office, or when you go to the school, please go to the office first thing when you first get there. Number 1, we can put a name with a face. We can recognize someone in the building. Also, it helps you know where the office is, because the offices are in different places throughout the schools, and so it helps you know exactly where you need to go if you need assistance. And we will reference going to the office many times. Hopefully, when you come to see us, it's not because you're in trouble. Students always tickle me to death when they come to. The first thing they say when they come in the office is, "Am I in trouble?" So we don't want you guys to feel like coming to the office means that you're in trouble, but we want you to know where we are, where you can come get help at all times.
At our school, you would come in the building, but you don't sign in. We hope that you will come to our school a lot. But you will see the receptionist there, but that is not where our sign-in is. It's in the cafeteria, so someone will take you to show you exactly where that is your first time in the building. Monitoring students, that's a really important part of the job. Never leave students unsupervised, never. Always use a quiet, respectful voice. I tell teachers, I had 2 days when I taught, and they weren't, a Monday and a Tuesday. It was separated by years, that I had laryngitis. I promise they were like 2 of my best days of teaching ever. I went in the morning, I said, whispering to them, this is as loud as I can talk. You're going to have to listen to me all day, and they did. And really, they were 2 of my best days. Actively monitor students in class, in the playground, and in transition. The days of sitting at a teacher's desk are just gone. We just don't do that. You're walking around, kids have laptops, they have iPads. You're making sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not finding games to play or whatever. That requires active monitoring. That's very important. On the playground, there's a lot that can go on the playground. You sitting on a bench talking to teachers is not actively monitoring students on the playground. We did last week, we were covering some classes, and I had recess duty one day with the class, and so I'm walking around. That's what I do when I'm taught. I had a section, I monitored that, I walked around, made sure kids were coming down the slide, not head first, that kind of stuff. It's work, but there's a lot of things that can happen on the playground, and we want to take care of our kids. see, well, I talked about when they're on devices. A close proximity to students is key to minimizing inappropriate behaviors. If this friend right here is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, I can come over here, point to something. They're probably gonna, at least for a little bit, do what they're supposed to be doing. But it's just actively monitoring all the time. Doors, it must be shut and locked, and there are safety plans. We have safety plans in the classroom. If you can't find it, ask the teacher next door, or when you get a chance, ask us in the office. One of the questions that someone submitted, why do the children have internet access to games, such as Five Nights at Freddy's, on their computers? It's hard as a sub to get them to focus on computer-related tasks when games such as mentioned are not blocked and can easily be accessed. We have, and I'm not saying that because he's in here, our technology department is unbelievable. They are amazing. And they do everything they can to block these things. I know as a teacher, I had one day, I was going to some literacy site, I thought, on my computer. This was, you know, I haven't taught in like 13 years, but, so it's been a very long time ago. And something came up, not pictures, but words. And I panicked. I thought, I'm gonna lose my job because this came up. So I went down, I didn't have kids in the room, I went down, told my principal, he came and looked at it, and that was gone by not long after we reported it. We talked about moving around the room, monitoring what kids are doing all the time on computers. If you've asked a child to stay engaged with what they're supposed to be doing and they don't, then they may need a paper copy of that instead of being able to use the technology. And you always can ask your grade level people, you should be within days, if not the same day, of what is being covered that day. So ask them, they can always help you.
Okay, and one thing about monitoring students, so when I started my career, it was a lot with middle school and high school students, and for the past 13 years I've been in elementary school. And one skill, I know that I can't do it now, but I don't know how in the world elementary people walk backwards. But have you ever seen an elementary teacher walking backwards? Because they've got all this little line right behind them. And so they're walking backwards the whole time monitoring them. And honestly, that's one of the best things you can do, is keep eyes on your students at all times. And that just, them knowing that you're watching them, them knowing that you're taking care of them, helps their feeling about being in school and helps you guys know what's going on all the time. So we really appreciate you guys for doing that, and I respect the elementary teachers who can walk backwards because I can't do it.
And another alternative to that, because I'm not that coordinated, is to walk middle of your line, or a lot of times, once I had them trained, I would walk at the back of my line so I can see all the way up what they're doing. Being at the front of the line, and a teacher will be at the front of the line and I'm passing them and I'm seeing all kinds of stuff going on. So whatever you can do, if you can do it backwards, go for it. Not that good.
Okay, punctuality, dependability. We depend on you guys when a teacher's out. I'll be honest with you. One of the biggest knots I get in my stomach is when a teacher gets sick and they text me at 6:30, or Miss Ellis texts me at 6:30 and says, Miss Rogers is out and she doesn't have a sub. And I'm like, what am I going to do with those 25 kids? Fortunately, we do have some instructional assistants, but if we take our instructional assistants and move them into a classroom, that means they're not doing what we need them to do each day. So we depend on you guys. When our teachers need to be out for illness, when they need to be out for doctor's appointments, when they need to be out for anything, to care for a sick person. So we respect you guys. We appreciate you doing a very difficult job. I can't imagine, honestly, sometimes going from one school to the next school to the next school, and you know, seeing different students all the time. But we do appreciate you, and we do admire you for that. So, being punctual, being dependable. When you come to school, we would encourage you to come early enough to be prepared. They're going to be with you at 8 o'clock. It might be 20 kindergartners. Hopefully not that many, but it might be. You know, it might be 30 high school students. So be there, read the lesson plan, be familiar with the schedule, and that will help get your day off to a great start. If you're going to be late, let us know. Like I said, at the elementary level, we have a little bit more flexibility than the high school. We can move some people around if we need to, but we can cover for you. We know people are late. You know, it happens from time to time. I'm going to visit my mom and dad Monday, and all of a sudden I heard something, and then I get to their house, and I've got a flat tire. So instead of visiting my parents, I spent about an hour changing out a tire. So it happens, you know, things like that happen. So if you're going to be late, please let us know. We do require you to follow the agenda or the lesson plan that's left for you. Our teachers are on pretty strict pacing guides anymore, and so they should leave you a lesson that is in line with what they're doing each day. So we do ask you to follow those lesson plans, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Please sign in and out of the building when you enter and leave the building, especially sign in so we know you're there. Please sign out. If for some reason we have an emergency, we need to account for everybody in the building, and so we ask that you do sign out. Be familiar with the duties of the jobs that you've accepted. Some of the jobs are different. Being a regular classroom teacher in a third grade classroom is a little bit different than being in the CDC classroom or a pre-K classroom, or even in special areas. So please be a little bit familiar with it, you know, before you accept it, and kind of know what goes along with it. If you're not sure you'll be available for a job, you know, if you think 2 weeks down the road you want to take that job, but you're not certain, just be very considerate when you sign up for those jobs. There's lots of opportunities for you to take jobs, and lots of times they do come open throughout the week. There's lots of times, I'll be honest with you, we have things happen and we will put in for a job, and I would add this as well. We'll have someone that needs a sub, and they, you know, the sub cancels, or the teacher a lot of times will just all of a sudden at 7 o'clock realize they need a sub. We'll put it for a whole day, but if no one shows up, typically around 8:30 or 9 o'clock, if nobody takes that sub, we release that job and then we put it in for a half day. So I would encourage you, you know, if you're okay doing half days, look back after the day begins and see if anything else is opened up, because we really appreciate when people come in and take those half day jobs as well.
I do want to say something about a CDC classroom and pre-K. Some people think, I'm not going to do those. Please remember that in a CDC classroom, there's a teacher and there's several assistants. So when you go in there to sub, those assistants who know the kids, know the routine, they'll take the lead and you'll help them. So that's not quite as stressful as you going into those classes and being the teacher. Same thing with pre-K. 24-year-olds is a lot, but we have a teacher, a full-time assistant, and a part-time assistant in there. And it's the same thing. If you go in there for the teacher, they'll take the lead and let you know what to do. Yes?
I've done several of those classes, and I just want to tell everybody that if you haven't and you have apprehension about it, don't. Those children are precious.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
They
and
are.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
They are a lot of fun. I like going in there and being a part of their classroom. Oh, I'm the one turning it on. Okay. If you accept an assignment for the same day after the start time of the assignment, please call the school and make sure that the assignment's still open. If so, let them know you're on the way. We understand why you'll be late. If you accept a job at 10 till 8, we know you're not going to be there at 8 o'clock. So we'll get it covered until, if you can say, can't be there at 8, but I can be there by 9. Come on, we want you. If you have to cancel an assignment that you selected within 12 hours of the start time of that job, you're expected to email the principal and the assistant principal right away, and then call the school by 8 o'clock. Leave a voicemail. Our receptionist will tell us, we may already have gotten your email, but they'll tell us that so-and-so called, they're not gonna be here. So it's good to hear it several times. Email addresses for principals and assistant principals are in the substitute teacher handbook and in the staff directory on the Jefferson County Schools website. If you have to release yourself from a job, please do that in ReadySub. Please provide a reason for the release. You're sick, your child's sick, whatever. We don't want the details, just that's enough. While Ms. Baker is in here, do you have any questions on ReadySub that you would like to ask the professional back there? Any questions? We love it. It's great. All right.
I second that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is finishing up with punctuality and dependability. So if you get to ReadySub, I don't know if this has ever happened, but I guess it's a possibility.
It has happened.
This has never happened at Dandridge Elementary. Can I quantify it? If you accept a job in ReadySub, you get to the school, somebody says, hey, we don't really need you today. And you didn't receive any notification of cancellation, please contact central office to talk to Carol Baker or Amanda Kinsey before you leave the school. I will add one more caveat. Talk to Jim Hodge or Millie Ellis before you leave the school, because we might find somewhere to put you and just be honest. And Ms. Baker is saying that you'll still be paid for the day depending on the circumstances, but like I said, if you guys get there, I don't know why somebody would say, hey, we don't really need you.
Well, we've had teachers double book us.
Oh, okay, okay.
Not maybe they 2 people in ReadySub, but maybe
Right.
they booked them and then they asked somebody else. That's
Oh,
happened.
okay.
Or the teacher decided they came in and didn't cancel the job and well, we don't
Gotcha.
need you anymore. That's happened, so that's why we want to respect our substitute
Yes.
teachers, so we can't do anything about it unless we know it. That's the main thing.
But if we could use them, we could use them.
Oh, yeah, there's
Okay.
another place, definitely.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, absolutely.
We got you.
FERPA. What does FERPA mean? It's the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Student information should not be shared with anyone outside the building. You've heard what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in Jefferson County Schools stays in Jefferson County Schools. Even if you are BFFs with family members of students that you've had that day, you are an employee of our school district as you're working. If you sub in your own child's classroom, you can't share information about other children with your child. It's none of their business, and you legally can't do it. If a student receives support services such as speech, special ed, those things should be kept private. All events that occur involving students should remain private. Information should not be posted on social media, even if the school, student, staff are not mentioned by name. If anything happens, the teacher is the one who communicates with the family. Even in a situation in a classroom that has assistants, it's the teacher that communicates with the family. Pictures of your day, work samples, or other incidents should not be posted on social media. None of what you do at a school needs to go anywhere. So let's pretend, I'm gonna use you.
Okay.
We're at a baseball game. And I know that you subbed in my kid's classroom today. So I'm gonna ask, what did they do? How were they today? How was their behavior?
About your own child?
My child? My child. Should you say anything?
If it's, I mean, if they had a good day, I'd be like, oh, they were great.
Okay.
I'm proud of them.
Positive, okay.
If they had issues, I'd say, oh, did you talk to your child today about maybe what happened, how the day was?
Okay. what if, a kid has been bothering my child?
I'm
And you
sorry.
were in there and said, did that kid bother my child today? Did he hit him or anything?
I'm so sorry, I cannot say anything to you about that day. You might wanna just talk with the teacher.
Thanks. Good afternoon.
Hey, can I say one more thing about the program?
Yes.
So, I used to go to the Barter a lot, up in Arlington, Virginia, the Barter Theater, and they always did this thing, this guy, you know what I'm about to say?
We thought you said bar.
No, no. The Barter Theater. It got its name. It got its name because people would bring in produce to view the theater. Oh, I tell you. All right, you three out. But anyways, we used to go to the Barter, and the guy that started it, his name is Robert Porterfield, and he said, if you like us, talk about us, and if you don't, just keep your mouth shut. And I always think, that kind of goes along with FERPA and social media. If you can say something good, within the right parameter, say something good, and if not, just keep your mouth shut. So, and that's at the Barter, not at the bar. All right,
Miss Baker?
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
So you said, say something good, you could say something good. But if somebody said, if a substitute knew that a student had made a 100 on a test, should they share that information? That's
No.
good news. No?
No. If they say, I substituted a new market today and they had the best culture I've ever seen, I think that would be fine. But if they say, I substituted in that new market today and they had a fire drill and those people were everywhere. They look like a bunch of chickens with their heads. I don't think that'd be so good, so I wouldn't say it. So
So even 100, you can't talk about students,
you
correct?
can't talk about individual students at all. That's the other safe way to think about it. Don't talk about individual students at all.
So can you say that had a good day?
I think the example
Every
that
day's a good day.
I think the example that Miss Ellis used, if you know that parent said, hey, how was Jim today? Did he have a good day? He had a great day.
Yeah.
That's
I think a
fine.
lot of parents don't want to hear bad news about their kids,
Well,
even from teachers.
sometimes
Extremes.
sometimes we tell our teachers, and you guys don't need to do this, but we
Yeah.
tell them when they're talking to parents to kind of use the sandwich. Say something good, then bring up a concern, then say something good again.
Yeah.
And so that really helps kind of deliver the message.
Right.
But like we said earlier, teachers really need to be delivering that message to their substitutes. Yes, sir, Mr.
I was just gonna say, if they ask you a question like that, a good response might be, well, I just enjoyed my day at New
Yeah.
Market today.
Yeah,
I enjoyed my day today, you should come there and sell.
and that's, and that's always a good blanket
Yeah.
statement,
Recruit.
Anytime I go to town, I know it's gonna be a wonderful day. And those kids just brighten my day, All right, information resources, who do you need to ask? Issues that are disruptive in nature should be directed to administration. Most of the time, I'm gonna tell you the answer to this question most of the time is come to admin or go to a teacher colleague. Almost any question that you've got, who should I ask, go to admin or go to a teacher colleague. Do not refer disruptive students to the SRO. The SRO is not there for discipline. The SRO is there to assist us if there's an issue that requires law enforcement. So do not, if you've got a student who's gonna sit in that seat and not get up, no matter how many times you tell them to get up, you don't go get the SRO. You come get myself, you come get Miss Rogers, you come get Miss Ellis, get somebody in admin, or if you've got a colleague teacher that maybe has a relationship with that child, you can get them. Any information should be relayed to the classroom teacher. And listen, like we said, the sandwich method. Tell the classroom teacher good things. Don't tell them terrible things. Tell them good things. If there were concerns, sure, let them know that. But if they did really well, if she had the best class until 2:38, tell her you had the best class until 2:38, then all of a sudden, I don't know. The wheels come off. But you can tell them good things, okay? But make sure you tell them to the classroom teacher. And general questions can be directed to the school secretary or the fellow grade level teacher. You know, we're fortunate at our school. We have at least 4 teachers in every grade. So it would be rare that there wouldn't be a regular type employee there. You know, it would be rare that every 4th grade teacher would be gone. So you've got somebody you can always fall back on. Okay?
Okay, pre-K and CDC classes both have support personnel. Like I said earlier, that will help you. Don't feel like you've got your one-man show or one-woman show and have to do it all. It's a team approach, and they'll take care of you. If you have questions, reach out to the teacher before coming into the classroom. That's perfectly fine. I have seen a job for a substitute teacher at the high school is English being a second language. Do we need to know Spanish to accept those jobs? You do not. I subbed in Jefferson County Schools a couple of years before I began teaching at Jefferson Elementary. I subbed a few months before I got married. My parents lived in Japan, waiting for them to come to the States before I got married. I subbed in a calculus class. I'm embarrassed to tell you that I never took calculus. That was like Arabic. I mean, it was a foreign language to me. But I subbed. I did a good job. I didn't have a clue what I was teaching or they were mostly doing their work. But I told them, just don't bother asking me anything. So no, you do not have to know another language to do ESL.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Uh-huh.
I had a couple of students that all they knew was Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't really understand the language. They didn't understand how to read their lessons or anything. And I felt really bad for them. And I asked the students in the class, does anyone know Spanish or a little bit of Spanish? And they're like, no. But I felt really bad for that student, you know.
Well, go ahead.
To help you. One of my most enjoyable experiences, I was in English as a second language, and the teacher, I went in for a half a day. The whole day, she came in and she told me what to do. There's a translator on your phone. And we spent the whole time talking back and forth with that translator.
Okay.
It was great. I just felt really good.
So
And the rest of the time when I go, they always come and see me.
Oh,
You
okay.
just punch in what you want to say to them. They'll punch into what they want.
So do you hit translator and
Google
then?
Yes, a
Translate.
translator.
Translate. You go on your whatever your web browser is and put
Right.
in Google Translate, and you can pick the language you're starting with and the language you want. And because I was in ESL classroom yesterday, and when you hit the little speaker button, it'll say it in Spanish, so it gets.
Wow.
I watched
Yeah.
a 3rd grade teacher the other day doing it with his student that knows zero
Yeah.
English.
And
Talk
when
about
you hit the
fun.
little speaker, it says it in Spanish.
That's
You can have a great time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a thankful teacher, but where I work, some guy come through in English, he couldn't speak a lick English, and he used Google Translate. And you have to really pay attention because sometimes it doesn't translate like it's supposed to, so you
Right.
kind of have to interpret it. But most of the time it does. But I felt the guy was sitting there laughing, and I was just like, I was trying to see what he was wanting, but we figured it out. But but that is a helpful.
You try, it is,
tool.
yeah.
You just have to enunciate pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, in Google Translate, you can actually type it in,
That too.
and then it'll play it.
I was trying to help a delivery person one time, and I think my accent got in the way. So,
Yeah.
it was a little bit different. We finally got it taken care of, but like I said,
Well, that's good to know.
I think my accent kind of got in the way. So.
Good.
Okay, so if you have a problem, you know, we hope that all your days will be problem free. That if for some reason you have a problem, please let us know immediately. Okay, you know, come see the building admin, come see the assistant principal. If we're not available, let one of the ladies in the office know. A lot of the schools have phones now. It varies from school to school. Our school doesn't have a phone, but everybody has a radio. Everybody's issued a radio. And so we would ask you just to get on the radio and say, can someone come to room 206, or I need an admin in room 107 or something like that. And we will come. We might not be running, but we'll get there as quick as we can. But you know, just however that school communicates. I know Maury has phones, the high school has phones, and so they can just call. That's another one of those things that's always good to kind of familiarize yourself with. How am I going to contact somebody in the case that I need them quickly? So just let us know. We need to know about that as quickly as possible, and we will take care of it for you guys.
We also have intercom, and there's a button in the room that you can push that goes directly to our receptionist. And so make sure you can find it. If you can't find it, ask your next door neighbor or whoever takes you to the room. I try to remember to tell them when I take them to the room.
Some schools you'll have cell service, and some schools you won't. I'll be honest with you, if you go to one of the schools that I call them the 85 schools, White Pine, Newmarket, Dandridge, that were built on that same footprint and have the tin roofs, the middle of the building is pretty much just a dead zone for cell service. So that's the reason we have radios. That's the reason we have other ways to communicate. So you can use your cell phone as a last resort, but like I said, it's in some of the schools it's extremely difficult. I think this school's kind of tough if you're on the bottom floor. If you're on the top floor, you can't use, you can get some cell service. And the next slide says, don't use your cell phone when students are present. Okay? So for clarification, that means don't be scrolling, looking at Facebook, shopping on Amazon. Don't be doing any of those things like that when students are present. Be monitoring students, be following the lesson plan, be making sure, make sure that your students are on task and they're doing what they need to be doing. Almost every school, every school now, every school has a planning time. We even built in planning time for our special area teachers. So if you do need to make a phone call or respond to a message or something like that, you've got time built into the day to take care of that. If an emergency comes up, once again, if an emergency comes up and you absolutely have to attend to something, call one of us, call an admin, and we will get it taken care of. We'll either come stay with the students or we'll send somebody to stay with the students while you guys take care of it. Okay?
All right, appropriate relationships. Don't share your opinion or jokes with students, even if they ask you. Gender issues, religious issues, politics, anything that has strong opinions, don't go there. Refrain from joking or commenting about what a student's wearing or how they look, their behavior, anything like that. Don't put your hands on children. The perception of your actions may be in question. We have cameras. Sometimes that really helps out if someone says, oh, they drug my child here, and we can see on the camera that did not happen. Be careful not to show special treatment to your own children if you're subbing in their classroom. I subbed, like I said, I subbed a couple of years before I started at Jefferson Elementary. I subbed in all three of my boys' classrooms. My oldest, who didn't want to admit to the world that he had parents, was kind of mortified that I was going to be in his 10th grade world history class one day. I only subbed one day with him. And he said, Mom, just don't make me look any different. Okay, fine. So he comes up at the end of the class, and I thought, why is he coming up here? He didn't want anybody to know that I was his mother. And he said, Mom, do you know what you did? And I said, no. He said, when you called roll, you called everybody's first name except mine. And you called Cameron Ellis. And I went, well, I wanted to make sure they didn't think that I was with you. Anyway, he was a little mortified. My second son, I subbed at Jeff Middle in his 6th grade math class, and it was fine, it was great. Go to lunch, and I'm eating with the teachers, and he comes up and goes, "Mom, I saved you a seat with my friends." That one liked me. Then there was my youngest. I started at Jefferson Elementary, 3rd grade class with him, and he thought he was going to get by with anything. And he did one little thing. It wasn't major, but I thought, I got to nip this one before it gets any worse. And I said, "Garrett, you can go pull your card." And I heard from the whole class, because they knew I was his mom. And he was great the rest of the time, and the other kids were great too. So that turned out to be a good day. It depends on the kid. Mine did not get special treatment. If you're in their classroom, they're just one of the kids that are in there. And be professional at all times with those children.
My mom actually subbed when I was in school, and she'd make it harder on us
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yep.
And they would know it, and I'm just like, I didn't see anything bad, but my mom would make it harder on us.
Uh-huh.
It was always funny. She's like,
Yep.
"So how was it?" I was like, "I don't want to talk about it."
Okay, and so talking a bit more about professionalism, it means a lot of things. It means dress code, it means cell phone use, it means being reliable, it means your interactions with the staff and the students, and it means all aspects of the job. We have all chosen to be teachers, we've all chosen to be in the education profession, and we kind of know what that means. We put ourselves out there as far as professionals, as far as people who want to be with children and who want to influence children. You guys, as substitute teachers, are an extension of that. And with that extension, I'll be quite honest with you, there's a lot of scrutiny about what happens with children. There's a lot of scrutiny about how we are taking care of the students, and that is our utmost goal. That's what we attempt to do every day, is take care of our students and to the best of our ability, and also to teach them. And so, given that, since you guys are an extension of us when our teachers are out of the classroom, we need you to be as professional as possible. Make sure that you treat every child as fairly as you can. Make sure that you treat them all the same. Make sure that your opinion to school matters. Anything, one of my favorite questions when we interview is, if you don't agree with something that's going on, how do you approach that? And the answer that I'm usually looking for is, I'll go to that person that I have a concern with, and I'll talk to them. And that's what we ask from you guys. If you have a concern about something, if you don't agree with something that we're doing or how we do it, let us know, and we'll talk through it. And let us know, and don't necessarily air it out there elsewhere. When issues arise, we're committed to being solution-oriented. Social media is not always the most appropriate platform to share issues, and we're charged with caring for our students and our parents as with the parents' most valuable possession. Our students and our parents, they are our customers, okay? And we're kind of in a job of customer service, whether you like it or not. And so we want them to feel safe to come to school. We want them to feel like their child is getting the best possible treatment and the best possible education each and every day.
Okay, there's a dress code for employees in place. We ask that you follow those expectations. Shorts should not be worn unless you're in a PE class. Skirts and dresses should be knee-length. Leggings should be accompanied by a knee-length top. Clothing should not have offensive material on it, referring to alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And this is a really good plan. If you're in doubt, don't wear it.
If for some reason, we hope this never happens to anybody in this room, but if for some reason you get injured on the job, you have to let us know ASAP. I mean, as soon as it happens. Because the first thing I ask the nurse when I find out about, did they fill out an accident report? Okay. We have certain legal obligations. And one of those is if there's an injury and we're gonna turn it over to insurance later on, the accident report has to be filed within 24 hours. I tell my people, Ms. Ellis tells our people, I don't care if you trip and you think you're okay, go ahead and fill out an accident report, because it may manifest itself in the next 24 hours or the next 48 hours. So you're only protecting yourself if you fill out an accident report. It's not, accidents happen, okay? We had someone who was celebrating with their class, dancing, and injured themselves. You know, accidents happen, but that person came in and said, I need to fill out a report. This is what happened. So if anything happens that you hurt your arm, you hurt your leg, you hurt your shoulder, anything like that, even if you think it's not very severe at the time, let's just go ahead and do an accident report. We'll do the paperwork. We'll have the nurse give you some ice and a peppermint, and we'll have the right legal documentation. Okay? I can't stress that important. You know, I can't stress that enough. So.
And if you are substituting and you're on the playground or even in the classroom, something happens to a child, we fill them out on children as well. Okay, if you sub here at the high school, they now have designated parking for employees. The parking spots are numbered and the numbers are blue. Teachers have been instructed to notify substitutes of their assigned spots so that substitutes will know where to park when they are working. Please reach out to the teacher if the parking information has not been provided in the notes section of Ready Sub. And you can always park in a visitor spot if you can't find a teacher spot.
Okay, if for some reason you come in early, you're there, you're ready to go, you're fired up, and you sit down at the desk and there's nothing. Well, what am I supposed to do with these guys all day long? Let us know. All of our teachers are supposed to have lesson plans. For the most part, they do, especially if they know that they're not going to be there. But emergencies do happen every once in a while. You know, they get up to a child that's sick, or you know, they have an accident, or they have a drill bit goes in their tire or something. So anyway, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. Come and let us know. We will get materials to you. It may take us a little while, but like I said, we're fortunate that we do have grade level teachers. Their pacing is almost identical. You know, the other day I was talking to a teacher, she said, I'm 2 days behind. That's no big deal. So we would know that she's a couple days behind and we can get you the material. So you come let us know if you don't have any lesson plans and we'll get them for you.
Okay, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask? Yes, ma'am.
Are we allowed to wear jeans or we're not allowed to wear jeans?
Well, it depends on the school, and that would be a good question to ask the teacher. At our school, if you come to Dandridge, you may wear jeans on Fridays.
On Friday,
Mhm.
okay.
Yes, but that would be a good question to ask.
And when we talked about reaching out to the teacher, you know, email them. You know, some of them might provide their number. I mean, text them if you need to.
Some do, yeah.
You know, but and especially if you know that if you know it's like a week in advance, you know, you can always call them and say, hey, is there anything I need to know? Is there anything special coming up? You know, and that they would let you know something like that. So, any other questions?
Ms. Raymond?
It's not a question, but it's something I'm not even sure where it fits in with this, but I had a situation one year where someone was studying in kindergarten, and at dismissal, for whatever reason, the kids told her that it wasn't time for them to go down yet, and all the kids in that classroom missed the bus. So don't rely on kindergartners or elementary at all to tell you if they're supposed to go to the bus. Just check with other teachers, look at the schedule. Again, do not let the class miss the bus.
Yeah.
You know,
That's happened with us too.
Listen, that happens to me.
They're very busy.
Okay, so I'm the bus guy. She's the car lady, and I have students that will tell me I'm not supposed to ride the bus today, And the first thing I do is get on the radio and ask Miss Fern, that's our receptionist, do you know if Millie's supposed to be on the bus today, or is she a car rider? And if Miss Fern doesn't know, she'll call the teacher. It's not that I'm distrustful, but I don't always take a first grader's word for it. So I second that from Miss Rainey.
Yeah.
You know, if you need to double check, double check.
We
There's
tell
a lot
our
of things-
teachers, if they don't hear from Miss Fern or a dojo message or whatever from the parent that also needs to be told to Miss Fern, they go home their normal way. The kid does not decide how they go home. The parent does.
When y'all were talking about the radios, I have substitute where some schools do it, but like, sometimes they tell you, the reception will tell you, hey, the radio one is office, the channel 2's teachers. So like, sometimes it's hard to remember which ones are which. So like, I know one school had like a thing on it where it said it at the top. So like, sometimes like, I was like, when you said the radio, I was like, well, sometimes I don't remember which one was which. I'm trying to
Yeah.
guess.
Well, in our school, we have talked a lot about doing that. We haven't done it. We're on the same channel. But that really ought to probably go in notes from the teacher.
Yeah, 'cause
Or
I-
you ask a neighboring teacher.
Yeah, because I've actually walked in and a teacher not have a plan, and I asked the teacher next door, and they're like, "Oh, well, we're doing this," and I'm like, "Okay." And then you ask the students, I'm like, "Oh, we've already done that," and they're just like, "Well, what am I supposed to do? Like, can they just like?" Because sometimes, like with the computers, they're so far ahead, or the teacher will leave you something like, "Oh, we already did that," and I'm just like, "Okay." I was like, "So what do they do now?"
Yeah.
So it's like.
I have been known to call a teacher and say,
I
can
go
you
do that.
send something? Yeah, let us know.
Yep.
And a lot of times I've asked teachers, have sub-plans, 3 to 5 days. It won't be exactly where you are, but we could use some of that until we get the real plan where they should be and get that to you. So it's something that you can have to go on.
Yeah, I've had some students, or some people know exactly what to do, and sometimes I'll go there, I have one piece of paper that says, "This is my class," and that's it. And you're just like,
If that ever, if you come to Danvers and that happens, let us
I'm like,
know.
oh.
We want to know that.
Any school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to let them know.
Sometimes the kids will say they've already done it, but they haven't.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
just say, just get
Back
it
to
again.
believing a first grader.
Yeah, back to, yes.
They held up a computer and showed it me, and I'm just like, okay, so, I don't believe them, because I thought we'd be like, well, the teacher told me, and I'm like, well, the teacher didn't tell me, so you can just go over there and sit down. Or teacher so-and-so said I could go to this class. I'm like, well, how about you have a teacher call me and let me verify that you're supposed to go there?
Yeah.
So like, I have learned some things, but like I said, I've had one teacher I walked in and I just had their notebook and all the teachers were playing it, and that's it. I don't know idea what to do, and I'm just like,
Yeah, I would bring that to Atkins, the teacher. They need to know that.
yeah, because I walked in and I'm just like, okay.
They need to know that.
So sometimes it's not that bad, and sometimes it's like,
All right, thank you all. We enjoyed being with you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
We couldn't do it without you.
No.